Like our content? It's funded by viewers like you. Please consider becoming a sustaining supporter of New Church Live today. So thank you as always for your support of New Church Live, friends. And today we're going to talk about is kind of an interesting one, and it's the idea that facts and knowledge disappear. We're looking at the story of Abram. We're looking at a deeper internal sense of it. And as part of this story, as we see frequently, there's this dip down into Egypt, happens many times in the Bible. And one way to think of that is that symbolizes these times of learning, these seasons of learning, where our journey takes us into a place of just simply gaining facts and knowledge. Now, first off, that's a really important step. And we live in an era, and I know, having been a former high school teacher, where we can oftentimes get enamored with the idea that we can skip that step. And it's all about how we feel, and it's all about our opinion, and it's all about how something makes us whatever. In reality is, no, facts are really significant things. Facts are stubborn things, as John Adams famously said. And they are far more important in many ways than just our opinions or how we quote unquote feel about something. It's really significant. It's really important to go through that phase. And it's really important to leave that phase as well. And what does it mean to leave that phase? Well, in this story, we see Abraham and Sarai, they go down into Egypt. It's that idea of that these are the facts we get in our life. And those facts, they collate in our head, but then eventually those facts become part of our heart. What does that mean? Like, what could that look like? Well, here's an idea, folks. Think of it as when you learn to drive. Probably some of you this morning on your drive into work, you may be listening to this on your drive into work. You're not really thinking much about the facts, quote unquote, of driving. You're not thinking consciously about, okay, so a little bit more gas, consciously with a stream of thought, a little more gas here, a little more brake here, a little grip the steering wheel a little tighter, grip the steering wheel a little looser, turn. No, it's all sort of muscle memory now. And if you think about it, like yesterday, how many decisions, quote unquote, do you remember making driving yesterday? You probably not a whole lot, because you've just sort of internalized it. And it's this another analogy might be thinking of music and scales. So we learn the scales and we practice, but then after a while, we're not playing the scales anymore. We've sort of given that up, and now it's time to move on into actually making music. And that's very significant here. And that, folks, gets to an important part. Like where we want to get is to this place. And here I'm reading from the book Secrets of Heaven. People do come to embody usefulness. In other words, they view everything in terms of its use and direct all their action towards a useful goal. So everything becomes about, well, what are you doing with this? Here's this knowledge, right? And it's not just facts anymore. It's not just knowledge. It's become part of our heart. We've kind of squozen it in. That's not a good word. Sorry. We've squeezed it in, and now it's moving out of us into a useful activity. And we're pointing it that direction because we're thinking about what the use is. So it no longer becomes about driving the car. It's about driving the car to get us to work, or driving the car to get to ballet, or driving the car that's the use of driving the car. That's the usefulness of it. It's no longer, with music, about learning the skills. It may be about entertaining someone. It may be about a peaceful distraction for ourselves in our busy lives. It could be anything, but we start to really think about what's the usefulness of this thing. And folks, that's where we can all really smile, right? We can really smile thinking, yeah, what's the usefulness? Like, what can I do with this thing today that serves for more than just a paycheck, that may serve other people, that actually can help other people? And that can be very enlivening. I think a lot of people, they struggle with work. You look at statistics, a lot of people go to jobs they would rather not be doing. And granted, that is not an easy problem to solve. There are certainly jobs that I would have that I would think, oh, I don't really want to do this. But maybe if we are finding ourselves in that struggle and there's a necessity for us to remain in that particular job, we can start to think about usefulness and start to think about, okay, what's the point here? And how do I come to embody that usefulness? Like, what is this really here for? And friends, you've seen it. Like, we've all been around businesses that really get this. Now, they don't use the language per se, but they really understand they're there to serve. And just imagine, a place you're going, the best place you've been and that had incredible service, which is over the top, where they really knew how to serve their customers. And then think of a place that didn't, a place where you just sort of gave them your credit card or your money, but there wasn't any service to speak of. I bet you haven't gone back to it. That idea of usefulness, is important because it goes right to the middle of the human heart. It's something we all know, we all hold, we all believe. And how do we do that? How do we enact that? So, folks, it's real simple. Today, you will, if maybe you don't have a job per se that you're wondering, why am I doing this? But I bet you today you're going to have at least half an hour to an hour of your workday. We're going to be like, yeah, why am I doing this? And allow this question to be in there, which is, what's the usefulness here? Where can I take what I've learned, pull it together, and then use it out there in a way that serves, in a way of usefulness? Like, what is the use here? And even try to think of it in little ways. I remember way back when I was teaching public high school, the assistant superintendent, his name was Dr. Peter Nish, and he would talk about bus drivers. We'd have a big sort of full district meeting, and they had hundreds and hundreds of employees, and would talk about the bus drivers and how critical their role was. Like, they set the kids up for the day, in many, many ways. And can we do the same? Can we kind of think, even in those little interactions? Yeah, there's driving a bus, and that's part of the use, right? Getting kids from home to school. But that smiley face that happens every morning when you open that door, knowing that you might have the same bus driver 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, maybe the whole way through high school. What was that like, to be greeted that way, that warmly, with that much care and that much love? That's usefulness. And even in jobs that at times cannot feel like the biggest, most fancy job in the world, can we do those small little things that make a big difference? And that's what we're talking about here. And then the facts are no longer that important. We have it, but we know that there's a bigger purpose that we're serving here. We're not just serving the facts of the job alone. So that's the thought for today, folks. Hope that makes a lot of sense. It's a fun topic. I always have found it really fascinating to look at businesses that really have this service thing down. It's pretty cool to watch, and I would say they get that because they're abiding by spiritual principles that push them that direction. So that is the thought, dear friends. And what we're going to do now is we're going to shift. So the shift that we make at New Church Live at this point in time is to sort of slow everything down, get ourselves calm, grounded, and centered as we enter the day ahead. So with that, friends, I'd ask us all to just get a big breath and listen to the prayer bell. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. A prayer. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Oh man. All right, dear friends. Let's see if we have some comments here. And again, I hope everyone had a wonderful, amazing, incredible weekend. We certainly did on our end of things. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff. All right, a number of comments here. Right. Brenda, thank you for joining us this morning. Linda, good morning to you. Patricia, love seeing that heart there. Kimberly, good morning to you, my friend. Sherry, totally agree. Wishing you a great day as well. All right, so let's flip it around here and get over onto New Church Live's page. Sorry, again, my apologies for not being the most fleet of foot with getting this stuff done. All right. Couple more comments. Marcus, good morning to you, and I hope the little thing worked today. I am not the best. It's not the best person with technology, that's for sure. Gene, I hope you're doing really well this morning, and thank you for that note. Lots of thoughts going your way, my dear friend. And Susan, good morning. So glad to be able to watch live today. Wonderful to have you being able to watch live with us, Susan. And folks, just wishing you all the best. It's sometimes religion is big and fancy, and sometimes it's just a grilled cheese sandwich. And there's just something about usefulness. It's just a grilled cheese sandwich. It's just good stuff, and we just make it work because it's so important to keep coming back to that. So there's the thought, friends.